It's time for Supply Chain Now. Broadcasting live from the supply chain capital of the country, Atlanta, Georgia. Heard around the world, Supply Chain Now spotlights the best in all things supply chain. The people, the technologies, the best practices, and the critical issues of the day. And now, here are your hosts.
Hey, good afternoon. Scott Luton here with you on Supply Chain Now. Welcome back to the show. On today's episode, we are continuing our Logistics with Purpose series here, powered by our dear friends over at Vector Global Logistics. On this series, we spotlight leaders and organizations that are on a noble mission. And really, they're changing the world in one way, shape, or form. So stay tuned as we look to increase your supply chain leadership IQ. On a quick programming note, right before we get started here, if you enjoy today's conversation, be sure to find us and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Want to welcome in my esteemed, fearless co-host on today's show, Mr. Enrique Alvarez, Managing Director with Vector Global Logistics. Enrique, how you doing?
Hey, Scott. How are you doing today? I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. As always, it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, really appreciate your support and spotlighting these organizations that are all on these vital missions. And lately, it's been great to kind of get caught up and get some of these stories out. With everybody's crazy schedules, it's always challenging to get movers and shakers schedules to align, right?
No, I totally agree. But I think that I'm really looking forward to this episode. It's going to be definitely going to be fun and interesting. And I'm just really happy to have Lauren here with us as well.
Agreed. Absolutely. Looking forward to learning a lot more. So on that note, let's welcome in our featured guest here today on Supply Chain Now, Lauren Noce, Senior Director of Corporate Sales with Hungry, which is a very unique Virginia-based food tech startup that's making a huge impact in the industry. Lauren, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Scott. Hi, Enrique. How's everyone doing?
Doing fantastic. As Enrique said, not only do we love this series, but we love stories like what I believe we're going to hear from you and what your organization's up to. And on top of it all, it's a beautiful April day in Georgia. It's gorgeous outside, which, given all the other elements of the current environment we're all breaking through, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's so nice to see the sun. Storms are done. So, yeah, it's been great weather today.
You bet. All right, so Enrique, we're going to dive right in. So Lauren, before we start talking more about Hungry, let's start with getting to know you a little bit better. So tell us about where you're from and give us a story or two about, from your upbringing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am kind of Midwest born and bred. So I was born in St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
I lived there till I was about 9. We moved my dad got transferred. He was in, consumer packaged goods, still is. So we moved up to Minneapolis, Minnesota, the suburbs there. So that's where I went to high school and that's where home was for a long time. And then, I ventured to Chicago. So I went to college at Loyola University in Chicago, which was not really known for much up until, our basketball team last year, which was really, really cool to see, but almost made it, not quite. So I was...
What's the mascot at Loyola?
It's the Rambler, actually.
Rambler.
Yeah, so it's a wolf.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you with the sports environment right now, it's interesting how quickly your memory fades. So the Loyola Ramblers, right?
Yep. And I mean, when I was in Loyola, or when I was, attending Loyola, I would say that sports were not really the highlight. I was also not very focused on sports at the time. So I would probably the most that I watched Loyola basketball, sadly, is when they were in the Final Four last year. So awesome. Yeah.
Well, I gotta tell you, from St. Louis to Minneapolis to Chicago, 3 of the really coolest cities in the country, certainly in the Midwest. What a wonderful early journey in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I still, I get back to all of them. My extended family is from St. Louis, so we go there every year for Thanksgiving, we go to the City Museum, we eat Emo's Pizza, kind of like the quintessential St. Louis things. My brother's still in Minneapolis, and Chicago's really kind of, I was there for about 11 years in Chicago. It's, where I really started my career. I started there in beer sales. I worked for a beer distributor right in downtown Chicago in the West Loop, which was really kind of up and coming at the time. Now it's blown up. It's amazing. But I started there, and, Chicago really feels mostly like home because I've bopped around a little bit. But, yeah, so I started in beer sales in Chicago and kind of worked my way up there. And then
let me ask you real quick, Lauren, before we talk about your professional journey, because I know Enrique's got an interesting question. One more question about your St. Louis in particular. I spent a couple of years in Wichita and made some of the drives back and forth, believe it or not, from East Coast to Kansas, and driving through St. Louis when the arch first appears, it is absolutely captivating. I think it's one of my favorite, certainly American landmarks. Is that part of your ventures back each year, or does that kind of get old once you've been there for a while?
No, I mean, I moved when I was 9. So, it's funny because I remember all the family and everything living there, but I don't remember as much about like actually living there, but it still is such a part of me. So every time, when I was living in Chicago, it was only a 5-hour drive from St. Louis. So, we would drive back, and my now husband would come with me, and I'd be like, wait for it. And, you round the corner and you see the arch, and
it's awesome.
It's amazing. I always tell him, my fun fact, I'm like, it's as tall as it is wide, right? And he's like, I know. I'm like, okay.
Mind blown.
Yeah,
all right. One more really important question.
Yeah.
Chicago and St. Louis have a lot in common, a lot in contrast, but their baseball teams have a heated rivalry. So are you a Cardinals fan or a Cubs fan, or neither?
So by birthright, I'm a Cardinals fan, but my, paychecks for a long time working for a beer distributor in the city of Chicago depended on the Cubs' success. So it was always kind of a, kind of a push and pull there a little bit, but,
that's good.
I lean a little bit more Cardinals.
Gotcha. That push and pull is a healthy dynamic. All right, so Enrique, let's bring you in to the conversation. I know you've got a question or two about the professional journey that Lauren has already kind of alluded to a little bit.
Yes, no, I mean, you already started talking a little bit about your early years in Chicago and then working for this beer distributor, but what other kind of roles have you kind of had, and how did you end up with Hungry Now? What was a little bit of your professional journey prior to what you currently have? What that basically led you away from Chicago, clearly here into Atlanta, and with this very exciting tech food startup, as Scott described it at the beginning?
Yeah, so like I said, I started like fresh out of college. I started as a on-premise sales rep for, bars and restaurants on-premise, meaning, consuming on site. So bars and restaurants were my clients, trying to get them to buy in on, beers ranging from Budweiser and Bud Light up to like very expensive craft beers. And so I really kind of found a passion in that, learning about things I didn't know. There wasn't a ton of women in the beer industry, so that was really interesting to me to try and, just become more of a, more knowledgeable in a role that I didn't know as much about. So I studied a lot and made really good relationships and really kind of found my niche there. And so I moved up with the company I was at there and became a key account manager, managing kind of some of the best bars and restaurants there, really kind of holding the hand of those relationships and fostering growth there. And then I eventually became a brand manager, so working on the marketing side, working directly with the breweries. I had about 13, I think, by the time I left. The company went through an acquisition. I stayed for about a year and a half, and the funny thing was one of the last projects I actually worked on at the wholesaler was launching Sweetwater from Atlanta. So they were entering the Chicago market. That was like my project. I worked on it for a long time. And
Wow.
My last week was the week that Sweetwater launched in Chicago. So that was pretty exciting and pretty fun. But I was just kind of ready for a change. It's so cold in Chicago. And so I told my now husband, I was like, I'm moving. I'm going somewhere warmer. And you can come with me or you can stay. And he was like, I'm obviously coming with you.
Well, Lauren, right now, I'm sure I'm probably preaching to the choir, and I think I've got the number right. It could be off, but beverage sales, I think, have spiked, or demand has risen 240%, I believe. And I think that's a March figure. I could be wrong. Do you still have a lot of colleagues in the industry that are having banner years?
Well, yes and no. So my friends in kind of the more domestic beer, like domestic beer is really on the rise. A lot of where I spent my time was really in like a pretty niche-y kind of craft world, where there's more and more microbreweries and breweries opening every day. I think a lot of those, sadly, are probably going to not survive this.
Really?
A lot of that demand is focused on, scarcity and rarity and new beers coming out, and without people really being able to shop and go see their local brewery and spend the time and really invested there. People, when they're going to the stores now, they're just kind of shopping what they know. So a lot of like really awesome breweries and really like mid-sized great breweries too are just struggling a little bit, but like beverage sales are up. Beer's been struggling for a little bit. The rise of like hard seltzer and that kind of stuff hasn't been great for it. They are delicious drinks. I like a hard seltzer myself. But it's the market's shaking out a little bit. So, we'll just kind of see where it goes.
Had no idea. That's interesting.
I know, yeah.
So not that you were just about to talk about your venture to somewhere warmer and bringing your husband along. So tell us more about that.
Yeah. So I actually got poached by one of the brands that I was managing in Chicago. So it was an importer that handled about like 13 breweries ranging from really small microbreweries and really tiny breweries in Belgium and kind of all over the place. So I moved to Charleston with my husband and was managing 9 states in the Southeast. And we were there for just over a year. He's actually in the beer world as well. He works for another brewery. So he was managing a couple states down there as well. It was a little bit of a slow lifestyle in Charleston. We're still used to kind of that Chicago lifestyle. So we were both really easily able to move from Charleston to Atlanta with our jobs because we covered, larger territories. And so we hopped over and we've been here about 4 years now and we love it. We're settled into East Lake and then, on the east side of the city, and we've loved it. And then I would say, so I was with the importer about 2 years and loved them, but then was actually poached by one of the brands within that portfolio to be their first national sales manager. So I was the national sales manager for close to a year and a half for a brewery located in Louisville, Kentucky. And I just kind of commuted. So I was, traveling all over the country, even the world, kind of going to manage the distribution channels, managing the wholesalers, helping sales reps, helping, on the marketing side as well a little bit. And the travel was just a lot. So I started thinking about, maybe if I could find somewhere a little bit, stay a little closer to home, not traveling 3-ish weeks a year. So, honestly, it was such a quick, I really kind of updated my resume, updated my LinkedIn, and someone from Hungary reached out to me within, 24 hours, I would say. It was pretty, it was almost too quick. I was like, did I even say this out loud yet? I just got so excited about it. It was like, it was such an amazing opportunity. They had just gotten their Series A funding. So, and we had gotten some really amazing investors. And with that, we were going to open the third city being Atlanta. So this was right about this time last year, maybe, a couple weeks ago last year. We started talking, and, they said, Usher's invested, Jay-Z started a venture capital firm. Hungry was their first investment, which was super exciting. Tom Colicchio from Top Chef invested. Right. It was really all these unbelievable kind of powerhouses in food and entertainment. And I'd always been a foodie, and food's a huge part of who I am,
So a lot of successful people saw the opportunity and rallied behind what Hungry was doing. And we'll learn more about that. But for starters, if you could, and Enrique, I'm so glad. I think you're very, very familiar with the Hungry organization, their mission. I'm looking forward to informing the rest of our audience about what Hungry is doing. But Lauren, tell us, what is at the core of what Hungry does?
So we really are a purpose-driven company. So, the company is one that was originally designed for corporate catering, doing essentially for chefs what Uber did for drivers. So finding amazing local chefs, not restaurant chefs, but amazing local chefs cooking out of these almost WeWork commercial kitchens throughout the city. And they're, James Beard winners. They are, they've won local contests. We have season 12 of Top Chef, the winner of the next, or not Top Chef, I'm sorry, the next Food Network star, Chef Turgay, really amazing local chefs, kind of in every Hungry city that are able, what we would do is partner them with corporate clients. So we would go handle all the sales, marketing, everything. The chef really gets to do what they love. So they're in the kitchen, they're cooking the food that their grandmother taught them, the food that they were raised, or they went to Le Cordon Bleu, or, wherever they may have gotten their, sunk their teeth in and really, started their career and their love of cooking, and we let them focus on that. We handle everything else, from the logistics. It's a really big part of corporate catering. It's one of the main pain points is delivery, so we're able to provide amazing food for corporate clients with really amazing delivery. And then we also have a big sustainability focus, as well as a give back focus as well. So, for our corporate clients, for every 2 meals they would order, just, for weekly lunch or meetings or whatever, we would donate one back through a partnership with Feeding America.
Love that. So let's, so I want to circle back to the logistics that is part of Hungry. But before I do, Enrique, I've got a hunch of what your answer will be, but I love when Lauren said how much of a purpose-driven company that Hungry is. I bet we both admire that. But what else, from your interactions thus far with Hungry, what else do you admire about their operation?
Well, they really run a tight ship, and I have gotten the opportunity, given that they're neighbors here at King Cloud, to get to know them personally, and get to know their Atlanta team and staff, at least personally. And they have a really good team. They're really people, so they're purpose-driven, as Lauren was saying, but they also people-driven. They're just good people, good values, laid back, straightforward, honest, hardworking. I mean, you see them here very late. I'm sure Scott, you've probably seen them as well. They come here on Sundays and Sundays, and I think that's a really good corporate culture that's focused on really making the world a better place, and at the same time, people that are working for them, from what I can tell as a client and someone that kind of witnesses some of what they do, they're having fun. They have a good culture. We're blessed having them as neighbors, because when they have the tastings and things like that, we get the invite for trying some of this amazing food, and they seem to be a really good group of people.
Love that. All right, so let's shift gears, Lauren. I want to definitely touch on a couple of things you shared. Talk more about the logistics behind the operation. I want to talk logistics, and then sustainability, and then give back. Those are 3 elements that you touched on a minute ago. When you think of logistics behind the operation and how big of an operation that is, tell more. Tell us more. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have really a proprietary kind of logistics platform. So like I was saying, one of the main pain points that our clients always had is, these meetings. A lot of our clients, the people that we are in contact with day in, day out are, administrative assistants, executive assistants, reception, people who are kind of tasked with ordering food for the office, which can sound fun and glamorous. And then, quickly you realize it's absolutely not. So in terms of just logistics and making our clients' lives easier and helping them, when they place an order, if they say, we want, why don't you show up at 11:30 on Wednesday for our lunch? We say, what time are you eating? We work off of a food ready to eat by time. So they tell us 11, or, well, the meeting starts at noon. Okay, so we back out from there. We factor in time for our catering captains, now our delivery captains, but our catering captains who are food safety trained, really take pride in their work. They're clean. They're always wearing their aprons, their hats. They take pride in their appearance. They're very professional. They check in at our office. They go to the chef's kitchen directly. They have hot boxes, cold bags, whatever they need. They count pans. So it's, okay, I'm supposed to have 12 half pans of chicken, check. Oh, there's only 11 pans of rice. There was supposed to be 13. Hold tight. They call. There's a lot of, a system of checks and balances to prevent kind of all of the pain points that happen.
Right.
Food getting missed, food being late, and we factor in traffic patterns. We use logistics with routing to make sure we have time to get to the client's place, and maybe they get there on time, but this client's elevator takes 20 minutes sometimes. So really factoring in the time it takes to get up to the client. They set everything up. They lay a nice red runner down. They, think about the flow of the food. So, it starts with a salad first, and then then it goes your proteins at the end. It starts with the rice. So, everything's really been thought out. They set it all up. There's food labels that indicate if there is gluten-free, contains gluten, contains any of the major allergens, or if it's dairy-free or vegan. Really, it spells it out. It's very clear and concise for anyone going through the line can see what they can and cannot have. So they set that all up. Even our little packs are at the end, our little cutlery packs that have a napkin, a fork, knife, and spoon. Our plates are, you said we'll speak on the sustainability factor. All of that's provided. And then complimentary, our catering captains will come back an hour after our client is done eating. They'll bring to-go boxes. They'll box up any leftovers for them. They'll clean everything up and get out of their hair. They take the garbage with them even, so really trying to manage that process start to finish and taking a lot of ownership of it, because that's where a lot of our competitors fall short. They just don't pretend to have any part of the ownership of the process. If another, competitor's late, it's like, oh, that was the restaurant's fault, or that was, well, it's a third-party delivery service. So really trying to control all the points that, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And
the experience.
One of the things that Lauren touched on is something we've used them many times, and just you don't have to do anything, right? And as she was saying, just ordering food for everyone at the office could be challenging, but just after that, then you have to clean and take out the trash and pick up some of the empty plates. And so one of the benefits, I think, is just incredible how efficient they work, and then everything's taken care of at the end of each meal. So there's really no sign that they were even there.
Yep. So let's talk about the give back. You mentioned 2 meals with your big corporate clients. 1 meal gets donated back. That's huge. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so that's a partnership that we started, really early on with our relationship. Our owners are kind of serial entrepreneurs and really wanted when they were starting Hungry, they really wanted to make sure it was that purpose-driven company. They wanted to better the lives of everyone we touch, and that being a big part of that being our communities. So, they knew that they wanted to grow this business. How do we do that? Do we, do relationships in each city? How should this best work? And really they found they were able to strike a partnership with Feeding America, who's been with the COVID-19, all of that, Feeding America has really been instrumental in helping, feed the masses and everything. So it feels nice to know that our company's, still continuing that give back program with them. So yeah, like I said, for every 2 meals that a client orders from us, we donate 1 back through that partnership with Feeding America.
Love that. That is such a meaningful, practical give back, right? And I can only imagine the impact you're having with that. One of the elements before we move on and go a little more global into the discussion is you mentioned a commitment to sustainability. Give us an example or two of that.
Yeah, so really trying to take every step we can to minimize our carbon footprint where we're able to. So all of the cutlery packs that we use, they come in it looks like little plastic packs that say Hungry on it with it looks like a little plastic spoon, knife, fork, but they're actually all biodegradable, even the like cellophane-ish wrapping. I believe they're all potato-based now. So really taking that extra step, it's not, it's not the cheaper route. We could have gone that, but we really wanted to make sure we're doing our part. We know that like with food delivery, it can be so wasteful. It's all the, the styrofoam and all this stuff that gets used once and then goes directly to a landfill. So that even our, the bowls or the plates or whatever the format for where you're building your meal, that is all compostable as well and biodegradable. And then when our captains come back, it's a really nice feature that we call it the VIP cleanup service when they come and they do the cleanup for our clients, but they're able then to recycle the racks, recycle the pans, and really take that extra step as well, because, the easier thing for any client to do, it's messy, it's soupy, there's sauces, and they don't want to deal with like rinsing it out and recycling it. The easiest thing to do is to try not to spill it and just get it to the trash as fast as possible. So,
and I'm gonna steal your adjective, soupy. That's a good one. I'm gonna add to my vocabulary. And
yeah.
I'll tell you on that note, one of my most humbling career stops was a busser for a seafood restaurant. So I'm very familiar with the cleanup on that side of things. So, all right. So Enrique, I want to bring you back in. I know from here we kind of want to get Lauren to weigh in on the global view of things happening. A lot of folks don't, I think all of us, myself certainly included, have a gap oftentimes with how companies that are in food or in hospitality or in the beverage industry, that there's a logistics and a supply chain operation behind that. I think that's sometimes we lose sight of that. But Enrique, let's talk with Lauren about the global industry here.
Yes, no, and the question for you, Lauren, is you described your operation perfectly, and you guys been doing it, and it's been tested, and everyone, your company's smart. But then all of a sudden, this coronavirus hit everyone, and you basically had to shut down and reinvent yourselves in a couple of weeks. How do you go, and you and your team and everyone at Hungry, how do you guys reinvent yourselves as quickly as you can to make sure that you continue not only supporting your purpose and your cause, but then also just keeping the company afloat and even growing it if possible? What kind of suggestions or advice or just the mindset that you guys had to have to react so quickly and so successfully? What can you tell us and tell Scott's listeners about that?
Yeah, so essentially our company overnight, once everyone left the offices, which was pretty much the end or middle of March, our business went, we lost our 95% of our revenue almost overnight. All of our business, for the most part, was corporate clientele in offices. So from anything from small meetings for 8 up to, weekly staff lunches for 400. That was really what we did. We never really, it was always very like B2B, never really like business to consumer. It was something that we had tried really quickly, like right at the beginning of Hungry before, my time, but it wasn't something that the company decided was the best kind of focus for us. But really, so we closed our second round of funding about the first week in March, right before all of this happened. So we got some really amazing new investors, but we got some, a little bit of money, so we weren't stressed out. It wasn't, we didn't have like that panic of all of our revenues gone, we have to shut our doors, because we saw that happen pretty quickly with a lot of our competitors. And really it was just keep calling your clients, keep maintaining that relationship. We've got something we're working on, and within honestly 3 days we started hearing about like little teasers from our company, like Hungry at Home. And all of a sudden, 5 days later, we're calling those same clients and saying, we know your team's at home now, and like we're now providing meals directly to your door. It started as like a subscription plan, but you can sign up, for weekly or just one time or whatever. But we really made the change to change the portions from corporate style, change really the offerings as well. So we worked with our chefs to try and keep them in the kitchen. The last thing we wanted was, everyone, the jobless rate starts going through the roof, and we wanted to do whatever we could to try and keep our chefs in the kitchen, keep our, we're now calling them, because they're not really catering captains anymore, they're our delivery captains, keep them working with a purpose, and, keep our team, we have teams now, we're in 6 cities. So the last thing we wanted to do was just kind of like close the doors and wait it out, because I think it's going to be a very different, it's going to be a very different scene when we all come back to it. I think everyone's going to, be back soon-ish. But it's, what that's going to look like, I think we don't know as of yet. So really it's been so inspiring to see the leaders of our company put their heads together and really like get behind a new idea and launch it within like 4 days. I mean, really, like our minds were blown. We had our tech team who's all in-house. Our tech team was working around the clock to get a website that consumers could go, and start subscribing themselves or setting up their own meal plans within 7 days, which is just unheard of, but it's been so exciting to watch the change. It's a completely different model. We're now going directly to consumers. So, we're still reaching out to those same clients, but a lot of our clients are furloughed or, they're not in office anymore, but we're saying, we know you still have to eat. Like we have offerings for your family now. So it started and we're just doing kind of portions of 8 plus, and, you have free delivery. If you sign up for the subscription, you can do once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. You can do every other week. Or we're now offering, meals for 4 starting at $50 with a $5 delivery, which is really like unheard of. Like we order, Indian food here, and I swear it's $85 for me and my husband. We're like, what did we get? Not that much. But, we didn't want to do, it's not our way to do the like hidden delivery fees and the surcharges and all of that. We really wanted to like give people a really easy way to order delicious food. Like a lot of the people at home still have that full-time job, and the kids are home, and, they're strapped for time. They're, and I don't have children myself, but from what I understand, you have to feed them almost every day. And,
every hour, sometimes.
Almost every day. Almost every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes even 3 times a day.
Oh my goodness, it's so much. Yeah.
Well, Lauren,
Lauren, I had these quick follow-up question on that. You mentioned about the leadership of the company, and that's a reflection of the culture you have, and it's very, very clear if anyone ever works with you and your team. What makes a good team, in your opinion? I mean, you could give us a little more about what makes a good team like yours kind of go through this challenge graceful even, because it's a hard thing to do, and you have so many different questions and unknowns at every different level of what you guys did before. What do you need to kind of pull that off?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had the secret sauce. I think we just, I think we've been lucky that we've been able to bring in good people. Like, it's very important to us that, just the people feel right. And you need to be able to adapt quickly, because we're like, even before Hungry at Home, our company was moving and innovating, and, the wheels are never stopping. We're always trying to, reach the next milestone, or, better ourselves and pivot and really be adaptable to the market's needs, and, really kind of like focus on just having a really good attitude about it. And if you're, it's not for everyone. Startup lifestyle, it's stressful, and, the direction can change overnight. You just have to be like, you know what, that's awesome, and this is the way we're going now. And, our company is not afraid to try something and see if it works. And if it doesn't, we're going to find something else. But they're not afraid to fail at something, because they know that that's how new ideas come, and really you got to try new things. But we have really, really brilliant, leadership with us. We have Shai and Iman Pavlani, who are brothers. Shai heads kind of the tech operation. Iman does a lot of the marketing. And then Jeff Brass, he is our COO, and, handles kind of the finance. But, I mean, they're all so accessible. You can pick up the phone and call them when you have questions, and they're so insightful, and they just care so much that it makes it, you would feel silly if you didn't, almost. You really just, you're so inspired by them and their leadership that you just really want to do your best.
Yes. Look, man, what a empowering and compelling culture you're describing. I want to go back on the front of this conversation. You were talking about some of the investors, and I could be wrong, but I noticed in a press release earlier today, or maybe yesterday, that Ming Tsai, which is like old school Food Network. You mentioned the Food Network star, which is kind of current day, but back in the day with Two Hot Tamales and Emerald and Ming Tsai and a few other folks, he's like Food Network old school. And clearly he sees the opportunity.
Royalty.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
Yep.
So y'all have got one heck of an all-star investment lineup behind it.
We really do. I mean, we have, one of the, just our board is stacked with really brilliant minds. And I think it's all our leadership. It's Jeff and Shai and Iman. It's their vision is so compelling. And when you hear them talk about it, like, you just want to be a part of it. So it's just there because they're going to do, that like giving them your money and giving them your trust and like investing in their business, it's not going to fail because they won't let it. So it really like just kind of comes down to that. But yeah, we have amazing Ming Tsai, Todd Gurley, who is coming to the Falcons.
Yeah, that's right.
Kevin Hart. I'm not great with all of them.
Well, Lauren, one of the other cool things at play here with this conversation and how you're approaching the conversation, which is so great for the supply chain industry and logistics and transportation, is it shows different applications. Folks that may not be foodies, they may not be chefs, they may not, other roles within organizations like Hungry may not appeal to them. However, the logistics side of the house that helps power what you do and the impact you're making, it really shows different applications of supply chain management. And that's where those are the common threads that I really love as part of this series. Enrique, weigh in on that.
Well, on the type of, you need, and Lauren mentioned it, right? I mean, I think I totally agree with what she said about like not being afraid of making mistakes. I think that's key and something that she really touched on. The other thing is just having different people, right, as part of your team. I mean, you always have like the same kind of vision and the same kind of mentality, and you need diversity. You need people that are looking at these challenges from different angles, with different backgrounds, with different nationalities even. And I think that's what's driving their success. And I'm sure that if they did something that most companies would take, I mean, changing from a B2B to a B2C in 5 days, I mean, most companies would probably take 4, 5, 6 months. I think that's a really, really good good proof of what they have built, and I'm sure they'll continue to be successful as this kind of plays out, hopefully soon.
All right. Well, Lauren, love what you do. Clearly, with Hungry reaching out to you so quickly, I think you said within 24 hours, clearly Hungry has an appetite for top talent. Sorry, I had to. I imagine y'all are adding a bunch of talent to help fuel your growth. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, the plan before kind of all of this started was to launch 6 more cities so far this year. We've done 2 so far. So we, started in Austin, to Dallas. And the plan, was to do 4 more cities and then 12 next year. And I think, 20 the year after that, really kind of blowing Hungry up and putting it in every market. And, that's what we hear a lot from our clients too. It's like, we have an office in Chicago. Are you guys in Chicago yet? Like, nope, not yet, but we're coming soon. So it's really, we're just trying to add people, and the company's always been it's been really wonderful to watch. If we find someone who we think is right for the team, even if we don't necessarily need that position filled at that time, we bring them in, because we know that we're better with them than without them, and we don't want them getting snatched up by our competition.
Love that. Okay, so how can our listeners not only connect with you, but also learn more about Hungry?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to home.tryhungry, TRYHUNGRY.com, you can try out Hungry at home. So, there is, I think it's a $4.99 delivery fee. We are starting with meals for families of 4 at $50, which are delicious, chef-driven meals. I know Enrique's gotten a couple of them. I get them every week to my house. I'm obsessed, and, it really is just like, our chefs mean so much to us, and really you can taste that in all of their food. So I encourage everyone listening to sign up, give it a try. Another cool thing that I hope I can just sneak in here too, is we have partnered with a 501c3 charitable organization called Pivotal Moments, and they are an amazing organization that really champions mental wellness. But what they have done is they wanted to be able to provide, their donors and anyone looking, provide an easy way to feed frontline or first responders, doctors, nurses, the people on the front lines of this, pandemic crisis that, is happening all over. So if anyone wants to make a donation, you can find a link on our website on home.tryhungry.com to Pivotal Moments. You can pick the city that you want to support, any of the cities that we are located in. You can get, it's a tax write-off because it's a charitable organization, and then 100% of that money goes to feeding doctors, nurses, first responders, and families at the front line. So, our Atlanta team, just the Hungry Atlanta office, we ourselves raised over, I think, $2,300. And so we've already started sending meals. We sent, I think, 75 box lunches to the Northwest Georgia Women's Center, I believe, yesterday. We've been sending meals to Emory, to Northside Hospital. It's been really amazing.
Outstanding. Love that. So to our listeners, home.tryhungry.com is one avenue to actually take Lauren up on a free on a trial. And then in general, I think the general URL is tryhungry.com. And clearly, I love the give back in general is important, but the local give back of what you are doing here in the Metro Atlanta area is really, really cool. So I really appreciate you taking some time, as busy as y'all are, to come out and share the Hungry story with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
You bet. And we will have to have you back on as we break through this current environment and get into that new normal that you referenced, Lauren, and hopefully go from there to keep building the organization. Lauren Noce, Senior Director, Corporate Sales with Hungry, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Scott.
All right, so we're going to wrap up here with Enrique Alvarez with Vector Global Logistics. Enrique, I love getting updates, just like Lauren shared with us, the different initiatives they're part of, the different ways they're finding to not only grow the organization and keep the organization stable throughout these unique times, but also keep giving back and delivering on that purpose-filled mission. So give us an update or two about some of the things that Vector's up to.
Yeah, no, and one of the updates are we partner with Love Beyond Walls to help the homeless and try to provide them with masks and other PPE equipment, but it's starting with masks. And so in terms of the updates, tomorrow it's scheduled that our first order of masks will arrive here at King Plow. And one of the things and exciting things that we're talking about also with Lauren and her team is to see if we can somehow work together to use some of the deliveries that they're having to frontline workers and hospitals and nurses and doctors, so we can deliver their delicious Try Hungry food, but then also maybe bring a couple of masks along the way. So that's something that I'm really excited about. It's something that we've been trying to do for a couple of weeks now, and so this week we'll start kind of more officially launching those two programs.
Love that. Okay. And how can folks connect with you and the Vector team?
Yeah, no, if they want to reach out to me directly, you can easily send me an email at enrique.alvarez@vectorgl.com. And otherwise, you guys can also visit us on our webpage at vectorgl.com.
Outstanding. Great conversation here today with Lauren Noce with Hungry and Enrique Alvarez with Vector Global Logistics. Enrique, thanks so much.
No, thank you guys. Thank you, Lauren.
So to our listeners, be sure to check out a wide variety of industry thought leadership at supplychainnowradio.com. Find us and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Want to echo Enrique's sentiment. Really appreciate big thanks to Lauren Noce with Hungry joining us. Big thanks to Enrique Alvarez and the Vector team for continuing to power the Logistics with Purpose series here on Supply Chain Now. On behalf of our entire team, Scott Luton wishing you a successful week ahead. Stay safe. Know this, brighter days certainly lie ahead, and we will see you next time here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.